Two of the appeals are dealing with we're protesting the issuance on July 17, 2013 to M. Rutherford Trust, Chizuo Holdings, of a demolition permit to demolish a one-story restaurant building with 2,000 square feet of ground floor area. And two of these appeals are protesting the issuance on July 17, 2013 to M. Rutherford Trust, Chizuo Holding, of a permit to erect a building, a 5-story, 12-unit apartment retail parking building with 3,000 square feet of ground floor area.
My name is Stephanie Wiseman. I'm artistic director and founder of the Marsh, whose home is located right next to the proposed development. First of all, I would like everyone who is here supporting the Marsh to stand or raise their hand if they're already standing. Thank you so much. Think of the Marsh as a safe house for artists to develop their work, for children to take affordable classes, and for audiences to attend our affordable and critically acclaimed shows. We are not indestructible. However, if protective conditions are not written to the building permit and we end up with disruptive programs and performances, we will not survive artistically or financially.
I've been an artist in residence at the Marsh for 22 years. I've been a playwright, performer, director, and teacher there. It is my artistic home. Solo shows that I performed and directed there have brought tens of thousands of people to the Valencia corridor. I've watched the Marsh become a cultural and financial anchor for the mission. I'm particularly concerned about standing on stage at a moment of heightened drama, or watching someone I have directed standing on stage in a moment of heightened drama and hearing the loud noise of patrons of a bar or of amplified music next door. Now is the time to put these conditions in so that we're not facing problems down the road.
I am also a performer at the Marsh, and I've been a performer at the Marsh since the 90s, and I'm working on my 10th solo show that'll open in the Marsh. And I know very well what the gentleman spoke about before, that we need silence to do the work that we do. We need to be able to perform, and then we need silence in between the lines.
Think about theater in the city. We have two big production companies. We have ACT and Shorenstein Hayes. And then right behind that, I think we have the Magic Theater and SF Playhouse. And then we have the Marsh. It's in the top 5. I just brought in this week's capsule reviews out of the 5 San Francisco theater companies. The Marsh is one of them that's reviewed, and that's true every single week. Then we have the fact that it's unique. Unlike the other theaters, it fosters solo performance.
Go to themarsh.org and just look at the website, look at its homepage, and you will see all of the diversity of San Francisco reflected at this theater. And this is not the case with the other theaters that were mentioned. They're all great theaters, but the Marsh, it walks its talk with reflecting the diversity of San Francisco. If any of you up there wanted to tell a story about your families or how you became a commissioner, you would go to the Marsh to do it. And we would love to hear the inside dirt, by the way. And so why don't you just ask Stephanie and she'll put you on the comp list. Come to the Marsh. The shows are so funny there. You'll have a good laugh, and I bet you most of you will be moved too, because you will hear something you normally cannot.
The Marsh helped me tremendously in my life. I saw one show there. Brian Copeland did a show on depression. I suffer from depression myself. It was brought on due to a post-traumatic stress disorder. I spent a lot of time in the war in Iraq. And I didn't have the courage to seek help, and his courage to speak out at that show at the Marsh gave me the courage to go to the VA and get help. So the Marsh actually helped change my life and my family's life. So I hope we can do what we can to keep the Marsh running.
We're not talking about a building, and we're not really talking about a street. What we're talking about, you actually have to go to the Marsh and see. And I think if you did that, if the developer and the owner and the architect would do that, just go to a show. There's wonderful shows there right now. Holiday shows, shows about different aspects of the people who live here.
Please protect this endangered species known as the Marsh, just as you would every other cultural institution in San Francisco. It is unthinkable for the developer of 1050 Valencia to threaten the existence of the marsh because of their desire to make a profit. Our appeal to you is that you put into place reasonable and concrete measures which will ensure that 1050 Valencia be a good neighbor that respects the community that it has chosen to join. And know that behind each person that's here, stand scores, if not hundreds of people that share our sentiments.
Thank you for listening to all this this evening, and I hope you got a little taste of what the Marsh is all about. By the way, donations are welcome, and you can send them to the Marsh. I didn't hear any commitment from the developer to build the affordable units on site.
Mark Rutherford.
I'm asking, the question relates to the affordable units on site. That has been raised by the appellants as a concern that affordable units will not be actually on site.
The way it's set up now, the NSR has been recorded, and our intention is to build them on site. As to what's going to, there is a possibility, according to law, as has been discussed here, that they could be bought out at some point, but that's not our intention right now. So is there a guarantee that they won't be bought out? No, there's not a guarantee of that.
You were requesting a change from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. construction to 4 p.m., and I assume that has to do with these youth classes and all?
Yeah, we have youth classes every day, Monday through Friday, that start at 4.
The scale of the project, however, I do have serious concerns about that. I don't think that this building, scale-wise, fits within this area. And I'm not prepared to design it for them. I am prepared to say that I would cut a floor off.
We're in consensus that the scale of this project is too large for that location, and for that reason, I think my motion would include a removal of the top floor. It would behoove the parties in the time that we would continue this, and I think we do need to continue it in order to make a clear motion on these specific conditions.
If you would like to adopt written findings, that's totally great.
You can also have a motion, boards have done this in the past, the main items, you would vote on them, like, for instance, to uphold this permit, remove the 5th floor, limit hours of construction, general, with findings and conditions to be adopted at a later time. That way, it closes the hearing, and we go to an adoption of findings at that point.
And we can ask for proposed findings from parties.
Right.
On the items where we're not clear.
So again, on that motion, to grant all appeals by the President to remove the 5th floor, the 5th story, of this project, to make modifications to the party wall with the 50 dBA value, with the planter system at the roof deck, conditions as read into the record, and with adoption of additional findings for January 15th, 2014. On that motion, Commissioner Fung.
Aye.
Commissioner Hurtado.
Aye.
Vice President Lazarus.
Aye.
And Commissioner Honda.
Aye.
Thank you. The vote is 5-0. The permits are conditioned with all those conditions, and we shall have an adoption of findings on January 15th.
There is a real culture here, and everybody else has spoke about it. But I think we're not talking about a building, and we're not really talking about a street. What we're talking about, you actually have to go to the marsh and see.
This is where I make my art. This is where my people are. And when I found the marsh, I really found a community of people that were unlike any other I'd found in the arts. I mean, this is a group of people that is so supportive of each other and of what we do. It's just, I mean, the people that are standing next to me and sitting behind me are just such an incredible community.